See that podcast. My name's Martin. I'm the Sign Gaps to talk about disputing using UK export stores and give a little opinion. With other news sites out there for disputing news, several people news affects our lives. It's the moon reported, and Germany is many of us already know. We are underrepresented in the media. To the end of this podcast, so that we have to try and address this balance. The first story is from Disputing News Service, and it says, the number of disabled people in financial trouble doubled, delayed research reveals. That is update please past Godspell. Listeners of published research have been sitting on for more than a year, showing how the proportion of disabled people in financial difficulty doubled in 2 years. That is update please voted for 2 billion years out of work disputing. The report is one of 12 beta research reports, nearly all related to disability employment, disability poverty, and the benefit system that were all widely published on the 17th of July, 8 days after the Universal Credit Bill was approved by MPs. The impact of rising costs of living disabled people in the UK report was commissioned by the Government Disability Unit under the last government. The research carried out by Research Institute for Disabled Consumers charity, that's the R, with DC. It was delivered by the government in April 2024, 3 months before last year's election. It took 15 months for the report to be published. It's just the latest example of the government department sitting for months or even years on vital research related to disabled people and the substantial barriers they face in society. The Universal Credit Bill will now sequence spending on new claimants for the Universal Credit House for more than $2 billion a year by 2029. In my decision, the White and Suits Perfect Bill was approved by MPs before publishing its research will raise fresh questions about the transparency in the democratic process of the Labour government, including the Minister for Social Security and Disability, Sir Stephen Timms. RIDC survey with more than 1,400 valid responses from a panel of disabled people took place in October of 2023. The report reveals that the proportion of disabled people surveyed who said their financial situations were quite difficult had descended from 18% in December 2021 to 27% in March 2023 and made to 39% in October 2023. In the year up to October 2023, 3/5, 61% of disabled people surveyed said they could not maintain a temperature needed for their impairment or health. While 4/5, 10% of people would strongly agreed that their independence had reduced because of rising cost of living. More than half, 52% of those surveyed in October 2023 said they could no longer afford to buy everything they needed for their impairment condition or access needs. In the year leading up to the rising cost of living meant 60% of disabled people constantly put down or stopped using their car or public transport, and 50% of people were forced to reduce their contact with family, friends, or businesses. 1 in 5, that's 80%, said they had started to use a food bank or the emergency food provision in the previous year. Researchers also found that 64% of those questioned agreed or strongly agreed that they could no longer afford the levels of support or personal care they needed. Or 71% agreed or strongly agreed the physical health had deteriorated because of rising cost of living. One survey respondent said energy price increase. I sit in the dark with a blanket over me instead of moving around my home. Can't afford to shower as often, and having used my pump feeder to save electricity. Another said, eating less to save money and some medical to save fuel. 37 respondents said, can't go out much, only as I can't waste fuel. Too far from bus stops, reluctant to waste fuel on heating, lighting, and TV, or the radio, which would give me company and a force to listen to, as well as mental stimulation we used to enjoy. By 2030, the Universal Credit Bill will see 750,000 new Universal Credit dependents who cannot work for disability-related reasons have their health element addition frozen. £50 a week paid to the £97 a week their existing loans currently receive. Just 80,000, less than 10% of new claims will be protected from this concept because they turn ill or qualify for Labour's new severe conditions group. The DWP did not provide a statement about the delay in publishing this and other reports, but said that its research was published in line with the government's social research protocol and where appropriate, it grouped together publication reports on similar issues. Well, I guess my own response would be that, again, it's not good enough and to delay such reports, but I'm surprised. Obviously, it's a bit coming over. You know why it is. Those reports been published earlier, clearly with an evidence that goes totally against the grain of the narrative for the government. And others were putting forward in response to providing evidence for why they were, fair evidence for why they felt they could. Well, the original 5 billion cuts, which ends up being 2 billion cuts, we needed to obviously clearly see that this is one could argue about propaganda strategy. Though I wouldn't say that it's a delay, but it's delay bad news, and then you publish these reports. Have points. Say again, it'll be ammunition for those who are trying to fight against further cuts, and also possibly even further down the line try and argue against kind of revisiting the decision to publish this bill and maybe make further amendments down the line for the reason why it's very detrimental in the first place. The statistics, I would say, they'd be shocking, but if being honest, over the past 14 years, what we would expect. I mean, these statistics would have been presented at any time in the last 14 years. There's a decline in energy crisis in the last few years post-pandemic. It's had its difficulty to that. To be honest, again, like I said, previous 14 years of cuts, have led to a decline in, obviously, in everybody's finances, but disabled people's. And let's be honest, even before sort of 2009 and onwards, even in the boom years of the early 2000s, the disabled with incomes in general for the majority of benefits never great. I mean, obviously the fact that people have to rely on benefits means that it's, they're not ready to provide an income that will give you a luxurious life, but even in terms of self-sustaining, it wasn't as if they were unable to, even in the boom years, give some people a life that would put them well above the poverty line. And there were always, in some teachers, evidence relative in terms of the economic state of the times, but the benefit threshold would always just allow someone to depends on the level of poverty, despite what paper or have you say, and their political rhetoric or have you believe, should I say. What's the solution to this? Well, obviously, things come to change for the better until maybe a few welfare system, and also the million times. Things will really change until they rebuild that whole system and rebuild and review the employment system, especially for disabled people, and what is and what's on flexibility, work, etc. and so forth. Also, obviously, for economic strategy in this country, for everyone in general, because as I've said many times for on episodes, that it's getting increasing for a reason. Everything's been blamed on young people. This pandemic for the rise in claimants, and yes, there's evidence in terms of the increase in young people, but if you've got I mean, most people are working to live, to barely survive, and working every house consent, and they're still trying to raise a family and so forth, and rental crisis, housing crisis, you've got young people that don't even get stable employment, the university system is literally strong, is rise of payday loans, etc. and so forth, increasing debt, similar to what led to Hawaii crash. It's, it's fuel for health problems, whether they be physical or mental. So, nothing's going to improve until wholesale changes politically made. The economic structure of this country. And the problem with that is that there's no, don't really think there's a serious appetite, because it's not in the majority of top 1%. And let's not forget the 1% of corporations that feed this country, or, lobbying, etc. and so forth. That's for, that massive say in the political apparatus of this country. And not only that, you see, there was political appetite for certain parties and politicians. It just isn't the political strategy out there. Like I say, I think, like I've said again previously, that really in terms of ambition, in terms of strategy, we just seem to recycle the same old policies, whether left or right. That's 40 years. The policies seem just to be a rehash of the previous one, and we need new ideas. New ideas for a modern world. It's got ideas and political strategies, and just don't think anywhere they get them from common political system, left, right, not all that. Like stories from the BBC, and it says rapper gigs releases his song with son after opening up about autism. The rapper gigs his son now have dropped a new track together, which is on their experiences of autism. The pair in My Own Motion, a remix of a song featuring written bass by ML, explores themes of struggling to fit in and trying to do things different. Giggs says his son's openness about his autism diagnosis that the veteran UK hip-hop star to find that he was audition. He recently told BBC Newsnight that lack of understanding when he was young that made him feel like he was bad and ignorant. His children for the same way. I was always getting in trouble, he told the programme. Always used to answer back, get kicked out of class, every single day until I draw. Well, I'm bad. The rapper says he took the message through life and he took his own twice before being saved by music. The track resonated with rapper Lix, who also has autism. She told BBC News Speech she had some experiences to gigs at school. I did get sent off class a few times for talking back or whatever. The 20-year-old rapper Croydon says, I was distracted and I wasn't focused on lessons. Well, Game UK star wasn't diagnosed until she was 18 and said having artists like gigs share the experiences helped her come to terms with her own. I was really upset because of the stigma behind it, she says. All the people feel like people that have autism are slow or they're stupid because they never heard anything different. It was devastating news to me. Then I learned more about it. I heard gigs had it, people I look up to. It's always like, well, there's actually a thing having autism. The track also inspired people like Ethan Albert. One of the lines in the song, I used to be ashamed, I used to hide it, but now I own it. It's really cool, he says. It's a 20-year-old who has autism and says it's such a wide spectrum. So it can be hard to figure out yourself how you can treat to things. He says it's awesome that someone like Giggs, his influence, publicly say that the condition does not stop you from doing what you want. Music is so important for stuff like this, he says. Be so powerful. So that's really good story in terms of, again, good representation, and, let's not beat around the bush. We're talking about a major current UK hip-hop star with a lot of clubs. And for him to kind of come out with this news, and also being for his son as well to share those experiences is nothing but a positive thing. And one of these other president in the UK with autism, and it's again, it's only about positive representation and the fact that, like I've just seen in that article, that people that are inspired, and there's many, many more that are going to be inspired, especially because of, much of a figure Giggs is. Yeah, used to it. Very used to it. I've never drink. Yeah. Stories for he's from the Irish Times. It's game changing sexy screening tools in Irish schools. Every year, millions of children enter school with undetected literacy needs. To today's system, it take up to 5 years for a child to diagnosed that by then they've already struggled to distinguish from the rights as Joe Fernandez has been of early intervention tools, which escalates the screening method, picks up the signs of early literacy problems in 4 to 6 year olds. Fernandez says no teacher wants a child to struggle. The logistics of the dyslexic screening process, which is individual, manual, takes about 40 minutes per child, poses real challenges for schools. Parents can opt to have a child assessed privately, and it's estimated 80% of diagnoses are made this way. However, it costs around £900, which puts it beyond the reach of many families. We are ending the right to fail in education, solving the early literacy problems by making it feasible earlier, actionable, timely, and support more equitable, says Fernandez, who understands what it's like to find education difficult because his own dyslexia went under nerves. That said, he did not let it stand in his way, and he spent the past 20 years in education publishing and digital innovation with previous startup experience, stint as a commercial manager for digital solutions with educational resources company Forums, and 5 years as a senior industry advisor in EdTech and publishing with the European Bank of Reconstruction and Development. Early intervention tools was established in mid-2023. The company is a Trinity College spin-out and came into being because the university wanted to see the results of a research carried out jointly with the Marino Institute of Education and Learning Research Innovation Centre. The commercial potential project had produced some IP, which Fernandez licensed. The company then embarked on a development phase to build out and scale its technologies. A group of schools signed off for the initial pilot, and having seen how the system could transform assessments, transform assessment to taking days and tools, they quickly converted it to paying customers. Since then, sign-ups have gathered momentum largely by word of mouth and through webinars. Teachers had chosen not to engage with the assessment process, not because they didn't want to, because they didn't have the bandwidth. Quickly became apparent that we cracked the problem with adding the teacher, without adding to the teacher workload. And as the researchers exposed a critical flaw in how early literacy and dyslexia risk are assessed. In short, too late, too many, too inconsistent. Our system, which is called the ALAPprogram, assessing letter and phonetic awareness class assessment, was designed to fix this by using AI to capture difficult signals of scale. ALAPprogram is not a test, it's an AI-enabled decision support tool. It's inclusive, universal, and offers real-time diagnosis and intervention tracking. In practice, ALAPprogram works like a normal screen-based. Children wear headphones, play the game with Archie there, ALAPprogram, without even knowing they're being assessed. Each child plays a phone system can screen 6 children in 20 minutes and provide an instant insight into the function of each. The idea is that schools use ALAPprogram to screen pupils 3 times a year in the first 2 years of their formal education. That's to show teachers what's working for them and where they need to intervene. What makes ALAPprogram different is not just speed, it's the system which transforms by integrating sensing into existing classroom routines. Fernandez says, modern analysis, early learning data for children, probable pathway to dyslexia, and longitude tracking enable schools to monitor growth and not just capture snapshot. It says this year the company is hoping to screen 30,000 juniors in infants across Ireland. Our backers are fully web-based and sold to schools on such places. The system will travel the public administration from English courses with Britain and the UAE are the markets most as insights for Vengeance see the future of this piece of software. Sorry, that sounded a bit like an advert then. I was particularly reading the extracts from the article, although I know it sounded like a sales shit, but it wasn't. It was from the Irish Times. But no, it does look any tool that can help with assessment of certain things, especially dyslexia and those kind of things. Potentially positive, obviously. Early doors with AI and stuff. So, you know, I don't know how accurate it can be, but obviously it will go through beta testing and further testing. Obviously, it's been shipped as things stand, but obviously like all software, there's updates, etc. and so forth as well. And they'll be improving hopefully as it goes along. Hopefully it's, it's a positive thing on the horizon. And look, I know we all worry about the future about and stuff, and they are, there's positives and negatives. And, people at the moment are very worried about the negatives and that's going to have particularly employment, etc. and so forth. And taking over jobs and stuff. But, I've always said that AI gets benefits, and particularly for disabled people, I think, goes with the ability to, especially with no coding apps and stuff. And again, that was easy as ever makes it. Those who want to promote them make out, but, things like these, such as apps that will help people, disabled people in their lives, in various ways. As long as they're as good as the main level does, that's the positive that AI can give you. The final story comes from the BBC, and the headline is Chess Tournament for Vision Impaired takes place. Chess Tournament for Blind and Vision Impaired people that's been running for 3 decades has attracted players from around the world. The event organised by the Braille Chess Association is taking place in Bournemouth doors. Company competitor Abby Baker said I wanted to find something to do which meant I could be relatively quickly without a huge amount of sighted help. Taking place in Marsham Court Hotel until Saturday, Miss Baker is taking on players from as far as Austria and the United States. If I make a really bad move, it's a took my own mind. Winged input, these there, she said, as opposed to the sighted chess, which is played in a single board. Each player in the tournament has their own board. Players announce their moves to each other and replicate their opponent's move on board. That allows them to keep track of boards by feel without having to reach over and touch the opponent's pieces. Boards are also adapted for visually impaired people with raised tiles and tactile pieces. One participant, Ravelin Gand, travelled to the event from Texas in the United States. She says, I'm enjoying meeting people all the time that I've been speaking with on Skype over the years. The philosopher first came because of an oversight on my part. Drawn all my other games, so I'm happy so far. John Jenkins has organised 4 of the tournaments. I've been playing chess for 70 years now, probably getting slowly worse. It's no game. It's ever the same. I'd recommend it to anybody, particularly for children, because it teaches them so much about concentration and problems. All of these people are here are blind, but they're resilient. They just want to get on with it and enjoy playing chess. And sounds like a really good event. Again, it's good to see the expansion of adapted sports for various impairments. Hopefully this will end up a Paralympic sport or something. Because again, don't think of the debate is darts and chess and things like that. Not that games or their sports. The sports in their own way. We know about chess has been treated like a sport. There's still some people that argue one or the other, but say just grandmasters in history. So hopefully it should be a as you invade Grandmaster. So yeah, again, another representation, and hopefully, some funds get behind it to kind of give it some push, and expand the sport and get more people involved. And that's all for this episode. Thank you for joining us. Take care.